GameStop was always trash, but now that some things have come to light about them, considering recent events, we now know exactly how much trash it's actually worth. Spoiler alert, it's only about $1.50. Readers, when it comes to me choosing stores to go to in order to gather essential items for a countrywide crisis, there are a few that come to mind. Grocery stores for when I need to get clean water, food to cook, and snacks so that I don't accidentally spend my entire paycheck on fast food places, which in a crisis can also be considered an essential service. Department, corner, and liquor stores for things like cleaning supplies, everyday household items like disposable plates and silverware, snacks and meals on the quick and/or cheap. And if it comes down to it, things like webcams, keyboards, and printers, and a mouse for when you have to work from home. So knowing that these things are possibly essential to my everyday life, especially when I'm stuck in a crisis, the first places I immediately think of to get these things are like Kroger, Target, 7-Eleven, Meijer if you're like me and live in the Midwest, Walmart if you don't care about overseas child labor. But you know what store I don't think about when it comes to finding essentials? The new and used video game store called GameStop. You wanna know what store tried to stay open when every other store like it was forced to close by stating it was an essential store during a countrywide crisis? The new and used video game store called GameStop. I can't make this up, guys. According to them, the reason why they consider themselves an essential store is because they have things like the aforementioned webcams, keyboards, and computer mice that would make it necessary for people to work from home. And if you are an individual who listened to that reasoning and thought it was a crock of bull, you wouldn't be alone. Because GameStop employees feel the same way, especially Dustin Carson from one of the locations in Athens, Georgia, who in an interview with CNN responded with, and I quote, "That's absolutely ridiculous. If someone's trying to work from home, they wouldn't want the $85 Razer keyboard we have or the $60 Razer mouse. Some cheap $20 Microsoft something is going to get them by just fine. They can get that at Walmart. They can get that at any of these other stores that also have groceries and are arguably much more essential to being open right now." You are not wrong, Dustin, not by a long shot. And I double get where Dustin is coming from once certain excrement initially began to hit the fan. When things first began to kick off with the crisis, GameStop as a corporation were very slow to give their employees proper cleaning and sanitation supplies to make them feel safe enough to work at the chain, even before the countless state and county enforcements went underway across the country. So one would say that multiple GameStop employees and others that have been monitoring GameStop as a corporation ever since they initially announced they were closing 200 or so locations back in September of 2019 because they couldn't find a buyer, pretty much took the initial announcement of telling its stores to disobey any protocols or curfews as the final nail in the coffin when it was announced on March 19th. Because 2 days later, GameStop finally came to their senses and not only ordered all the stores to be closed, but stated that both part and full-time employees will be financially compensated with either 2 additional weeks of paid time off, 2 weeks worth of base pay, and or a month's worth of benefits reimbursed to them in the month of April. Now, as far as I'm concerned, readers, all of this is cool and all, but they should have been done this. And I'm absolutely certain that we got to where we are now because of angry employees, various decrees of law, and the threat of lawsuits were knocking on corporate's door. But considering the timing of the initial announcement declaring the chain essential to be open during the crisis versus when they finally decided to close off their insides to the public and properly compensate their workers, there were 2 things that made me realize why GameStop decided to wait so long to act. And those two things are Doom and Animal Crossing. Come on, you knew what this was. Both of which came out between both of these announcements. As a matter of fact, the day before GameStop announced that they were staying open because they thought they were an essential store during the crisis, GameStop went to Twitter to announce that they would be selling Doom Eternal, the follow-up to Bethesda's 2016 reboot of the FPS franchise, one day early as a quote-unquote safety precaution, while Animal Crossing New Horizons would keep its original March 20th sell date. So the day before GameStop announced that it would stay open because they thought they were all that and 10 gigs of DLC, they revealed they were going to sell Doom Eternal a day early. And the day before GameStop announced that they realized they weren't as special as they thought they were, they went on with the sales of Animal Crossing New Horizon as originally planned. They literally waited until after the releases of both of these games happened before deciding to do what was best for the safety of their own workers and say on paper that they would properly compensate them for their missed work. Readers, it shouldn't surprise me by now that how greedy corporations like this are and how little they prioritize the safety and well-being of the people who work for them before they do their own profits and shareholders. And I'm not saying that I wasn't expecting this from GameStop. I'm just disappointed that such a turn of events could happen. If one truly cares about the health, safety, and well-being of the people responsible for making sure that your business has legs to stand on, then caring about the health, safety, and well-being of the people responsible for making sure your business still have legs to stand on should be your first priority. Not making sure you've secured the profits of 2 big releases in the midst of a crisis by any means necessary before complying with the rules. Do I think GameStop will actually deliver on what they promised their employees now that they've gotten what they wanted and are following proper protocol? I don't know. I honestly don't know. The fact that GameStop was willing to grant their workers all of this after first making sure that they lined their pockets first is proof that they, and damn near every company as big as them, are capable of regularly making these accommodations for their workers, crisis, outbreak, or otherwise. They just don't. It took so many measures of extremity that was brought about this crisis to get not just GameStop, but other companies as well, some I mentioned and some I haven't, to treat their employees like human beings. And even to the point where more people are looking at what they're doing, finally taking notice of everything that they do to accommodate us now that they are literally the glue that currently holds us together, and say, well, damn. Maybe they do deserve $15 an hour. But I digress, readers. Your homework assignment for the day. Write in the comments section below how you initially reacted when you saw GameStop's first response to the current crisis. Or if you feel like sharing with the rest of the class, if you believe GameStop waited to adhere to the current state of things until Doom Eternal and Animal Crossing New Horizon came out. Regardless of which one you answer, I'd love to know your thoughts. If you want to help financially support the channel, you can join my Patreon by clicking the card at the end of the video or in the link in the description down below, where you can also find a link to my merchandise store. Or if you prefer to give a one-time donation, you can find links to my PayPal and my Ko-fi account in the description box as well. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because I post new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and every other Friday. But until then, this is Readus 101. Class dismissed.